Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Father David Archibald here with you. This is your noonday contemplative prayer time, and today is Monday, March 15th. By contemplative prayer time, that just means a time when we don't use a whole lot of words like we would using a daily office like the morning prayer or evening prayer. It's trying to get to a quiet place where you don't have to say too much, but you're just present to God, present to the higher power, present to a greater consciousness, greater being than just yourself. So that's what contemplative prayer is in a way. It's a way of looking at the world without saying anything, without putting a lot of interpretation out there, just being present to the presence in the world. Sometimes people have used some version of this metaphor to describe a contemplative prayer or a contemplative mindset. They will say something like, imagine yourself as someone sitting on the bank of a river and you're watching the river go by with boats on the river, and every one of your thoughts or your emotions is one of the boats. So you're able to observe yourself having thoughts. You're able to observe yourself having emotions. And you realize that you are not equivalent to your thoughts or your emotions because you are able to observe them. You are not them, which is a huge leap for most people because almost everyone thinks that they are their thinking or they are their thoughts. And to have this other point of view, this time when we're simply observing, watching, and bearing witness to our own life, that's what it means to, in sort of ways, be contemplative, have a different way of seeing and observing the world. You can also use the image of watching cars drive by, but I like the nature one a little better. It seems a little mellower. And what happens sometimes is after you're watching your boats on your river for a while, you'll notice that the same boat keeps looping back and forth. Somehow that boat doesn't actually get down the river, but the same boat keeps showing up as you watch it. This is your recurring thoughts. Most of the time, they're negative thoughts or negative patterns of thinking. So, lots of people have different labels for that boat that keeps going by. They might call it, if you're in the Eckhart Tolle world, they'll call that your pain body keeps showing up. If you're a psychologist, it might be your childhood wounds coming up, your recurring patterns of addiction. If you're a 12-step person, whatever it is, there's an awful lot of the same old thing going through your head. There's an awful lot of recurring thinking going on. That's why, for one reason, they say that using your mind, just using your mind and not using your contemplative mind, sometimes is not very fruitful because you have the same repetitive, gosh darn things happening and you don't get very creative. It's the same thing. You think the same things, you feel the same things, and you keep doing the same script over and over again. So I want to give you just one example of that from my own life. There's a million of them I could share with you, but I was talking with my spouse this morning, and I said, the dog we used to have named Snapper, black and white hound dog, we were amazed. We said, Snapper can really bark sometimes, a loud bark. You wouldn't think a dog that weighs 40, 50 pounds can have that big of a bark. It's like, man, remember we used to say, Snapper, be quiet or shut up. We were just like, man, that dog can bark. And then we got another dog after Snapper died. And we got Butch. And Butch, we have the same thing that happens. We say, Butch will bark at things going by the front door or the cars going down the street. And it's like, oh my God, that dog can just have the most piercing bark and just won't stop, just relentless, no matter what I say or do. said, man, that butch dog can bark and so loud, so incredibly too loud and too incessant. And then we got another dog. This dog kind of belongs a little bit more to my partner. But this dog, every morning, will get up and wake us up. And then on the way down the stairs to get the morning dog food, the dog just goes crazy and barks and barks. So I finally told my spouse, I said, man, there seems to be a recurring pattern here. How is it that a dog barking just kind of upsets me? I would fuss at the snapper dog, then I would fuss at the butch dog, then I would fuss at this other dog named Cassie. It's like, you know what? Maybe dogs just bark, and you ought to just get over it. So that's kind of a lighthearted example. If you're going to try and be a contemplative person, have the mind of Christ and not be dominated by your thoughts and ruled by your emotions, but you can actually, have some peace and creativity in your life. Take a look at what keeps recurring. Take a look at what keeps repeating. Take a look at the boats that keep showing up on that darn river of consciousness. And you'll find that if you can work with those thoughts, let them go, find their root causes, but then you have to let them go and say, well, that's just the way that is. Dogs bark. See, that's why they pay me big money at seminary time, so you can realize that dogs bark. Well, we'll go to our contemplative video now. It's just a way to settle down, let your mind be quiet, and get back to just a quiet place for a moment. You can follow the instructions on the screen if you'd like, or you can turn off your sound and simply follow the visual cues. Use the audio or the visual as you so choose.
For many of us, this moment feels chaotic and terribly stressful. Join us for a few moments to turn inward and connect to your innermost you. Gently close your eyes and feel the gentleness of breath inside your body as you repeat these words. My deepest me is love. My deepest me is whole. My deepest me is limitless. My deepest me is infinite. My deepest me is compassion. My deepest me is sacred. My deepest me is mystery. My deepest me is forgiveness. My deepest me is beauty. My deepest me is God. My deepest me has knowledge to give. I open my heart and listen.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sharing a little time with me, and I wish you all the best as you go through the rest of your day. The God's presence within you and walking with God's presence around you. I hope all of us can be present to this presence as we go through the rest of our day. Take care, everybody. Blessings to you. Tonight, 7:30 prayers for evening prayer. Tomorrow, 9:30 prayers for morning prayer.